So much, everyone. Today, I will be talking about bridging the gap between engineering groups, robotic startups, university labs, and bridging that to the industries. My name is Darryl Anunciado. I'm the CEO of Action Drone. And basically, that would be my topic for today. And so I just want to thank you all for having me and inviting me to speak in front of you this morning. It's evening here in San Diego. Today, I'll be trying to explain how we use the process to take certain prototypes, ideas, or unique technology created by small groups of teams, not just from labs, but also from university, and bringing them from prototype stage into the market. So let me give you a little history, basically, of how I started working with different engineering firms, different labs, and also startups around the world. Basically, 8 years ago, when I started Action Drone, I thought I created a product that will revolutionize different industries. And I pushed our product as if it was the end-all solution to inspecting infrastructure, creating precision mapping, inspecting agriculture, and different types of work out there that the drone can actually be used for. For years, doors were open to me, but all of a sudden it was shut down. Practically told me that the drone technology that I was trying to push might have the potential to help their industry, but my simplified approach that we sold to them was not enough to actually convince the industry how to actually use the drone to their benefit. And I didn't really understand this, and I didn't understand why this was happening until I actually started understanding that I wasn't paying attention to what they actually needed, and I wasn't listening to their concerns. So to give you an idea what I'm talking about, I'm putting some examples here. Here are some projects that we pushed. We thought we knew better than what the customers needed. This was the first year of my company. So for example, about 7 years ago, we went to Mexico, a place called Aguas Calientes. And they gave us a chance to basically prove to them that drones will be the new tool on to inspecting wind turbines and to make it so that it's very helpful to their industry. So we went there, we flew to Mexico, and we actually showed them that drones can fly in heavy winds, that we could take good pictures of their blade, and show them that they can inspect their turbines faster than what they're currently doing. Now, we spent 3 days there, spent a lot of our money, hard-earned money, and we thought that, for sure that we go there, we're gonna, win their contract and start doing business with them. But as soon as we finished the project, we basically had a lot of questions that we couldn't answer. As soon as we finished, they started asking us questions. How will I save money? We were showing them that we could collect data efficiently, but the cost of it didn't offset the value that was actually being given. Then they asked me, if we bought your drone, who will pilot these drones? Because 7, 8 years ago, this technology was just starting to get introduced to the world, and there were very limited amount of people that could actually fly these drones. And so we could not answer that question. And finally, they asked us what the data that we collected, how can they process it when their whole process as a company did not have any infrastructure to collect this type of high volume data in terms of the data that was collected by the drone. So all of a sudden, instead of us being a solution to them, we are now a problem to what we are trying to give them. Now, because we couldn't answer these questions, we knew we weren't going to get that contract today or that day. And we knew we had a uphill battle to actually start proving the worth of this technology. Now, that same year, And here's another example. That same year, we also went to Mexico City. We were asked by the government of Mexico to show the power line companies or their energy company that drones can be used to inspect power lines and transformers, right? Now, when we got there, in theory, it looks good, where you take a flying camera, right, instead of somebody climbing up a power line, and actually take pictures, right, and collect the data. And we thought, it's a no-brainer. They're gonna take this technology, they're gonna buy it, they're gonna run with it, and we're gonna sell a lot of these drones to this company so that their linemen don't need to climb power lines anymore, you know. But when we got there, the same thing, they basically received the 15 drones that we sold to them. They came out with 15 pilots they've hand selected to be able to fly these drones. But as soon as we gave them the controllers, none of them knew how to use it. None of them had any experience in actually flying drones or any experience how to use the sensors that were actually mounted on these drones. So the technology that we actually gave them is so useless because nobody knows how to use it. And so at the end of that, we learned our lesson from this. We stopped assuming right away that our audience or our market actually understood exactly what the technology does and how the technology is actually beneficial to them. We also started listening to exactly what they're looking for. And I had to find a way to address these hurdles. All these hurdles were very difficult to basically solve, right? And it would have been very costly for me if I had to handle this on my own. So, for example, with the wind turbine problem, we ended up having to work or find solutions globally. So how did I do this to actually find a solution without having to spend more money advancing the technology, right? So that's pretty much the question that we're trying to ask. Well, what we did was we basically traveled around the world, and we basically met with different labs, different universities. We met with startups. We found a startup in Korea. We met them in person. We actually talked about how their startup company or the technology that they were building could revolutionize the wind turbine inspection industry. Now, this startup company was basically building a companion computer that would allow a drone to navigate itself perfectly around wind turbines and collect data in a way where it's very uniformed. So when we basically found this company, we started collaborating with them, and they had no idea of actually taking their technology and actually bringing that to the US market. So we proposed to them on doing some testing and doing some co-developing and taking their drone technology to the US market and push it to see if we can find a process that is very acceptable to the wind turbine industry. Now, it took us 2-3 years to actually work with them. And then today, we now have this partnership solidified, and we're now working with contracts here in the United States. So that's a quick solution to what we did with the wind turbines. Now, the power line stuff, we're still working on it. We didn't even know how difficult it is to actually change the mindset of linemen and all these different workers in the power line industry to accept the drone technology. So we're trying to create a process so it's something where the drone technology integrates smoothly into their work process. And then I'm going to give you some more example, basically, of what other projects that we've done where we took different startups around the world and different labs and universities around the world, and we basically combined each other's force and know-how so that we can tackle some of the problems that drone technologies should be able to tackle and open up the market for not just the drone industry, but also for these small companies that are located throughout the world that would have a difficult chance of putting their technology in front of not just the US market, but other markets that are very difficult to reach. So what we ended up doing, because we started creating this practice of making friends around the world, of different labs, different universities, different startups, we ended up basically going into the market and together. So what we ended up doing is we ended up going into creating a drone consortium, a global drone consortium. So I don't know how this works. Am I supposed to pause and let the translator translate? I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm here. So start from now. 现在开始翻吗？他讲蛮多的。
You probably need to have some way to do it. Maybe ask Dara to talk maybe a few minutes, then you talk. That will give you reduce your load, right?
Yeah, because it's like so many, and I was like, I already wrote 3 pages.
Yeah, so
maybe because I'm not sure if they have controller to say, oh, so stop, he stopped, and then I started. I don't know.
You can remind Darry. How about that?
Oh, okay.
Like this. That's the way. Also, say, hey Darry, okay, let me translate. Talk like this. Okay.
Oh, okay, I see. All right.
Also, Shirley, on the 3 pages that you've already taken notes, maybe you can ask me the question that you have a question of, and then you can translate it from there. Or do you want to just continue from here and translate it?
I think I'll start from here because
okay.
We should start from here. We should start from here. Okay.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay.
Good. Yeah.
Maybe just three. Maybe I think maybe 3 or 4, 5 sentences, and I translate.
Okay. So basically, what we ended up forming to solve the problem of reaching the market or opening the drone market, we started a group called the Global Drone Consortium, and it's basically a group of technology companies, small startups, university teams, and also even sometimes different labs around the world. And we basically teamed up to create solutions for the different industries that might benefit from the drone technology.
基本上我们间接的去透过所有的事件，我们来结合起来，然后这些实验室，我们各个国家实验室解开出来，我们各个实验室大家一起结合出来，然后去打开全球的市场。
And so what I'm trying to basically talk about today is not to join our consortium or our drone consortium, because I don't know what industry you're involved in. But what I'm trying to show is find a way to create your own consortium, find a way to partner with different companies out there that will give you the ability to expose your technology that you've created so that it is seen by the market. That way you get feedback from the market exactly on how your technology or your ideas can be then useful in the industry.
我今天不是要你们去加入无人机这样一个协会，是要你们自己去创造这样子的公司，这样让你们想法自己跟公司里面融合，然后去创造，这样子才能够让更多的全球的市场上面看到你的想法。
So I'm going to go into a little bit more detail so that you have specific examples of exactly how we actually found this process.
再来，我接下来要进去比较详细的地方，然后来提出一些特定的一些 特定的一些例子，让你们有一些想法跟概念。
So with all the experience we have succeeding but mostly failing, we are now starting to understand exactly how you can take a novel technology and convince the industry that this new technology, in our case, the drone, will be very useful for their workforce.
我们接下来我经历过非常多的，有成功的，但是大部分是失败的。那我现在要跟你介绍说，我们怎么样去做在无人机这个方面做创新，然后进而创造出有用的一些知识及想法。
And then at this time, industries have now heard of the drone or the drone technology. 8 years ago, it was a little difficult to convince them what drones were because the only time they ever hear drones is American shooting missiles using drones, right? So that made it really difficult. But today it makes it a lot easier for us to talk about drones because they're popular now. But they still want to know how they can implement this technology, how the different industries can use this technology by finding a way to create experts of their own, by finding a way to use the data that they've collected, and also even processing the data so that it's useful for their work.
在8年前的话，如果跟大家谈到无人机这件事情，大家可能会对它不是很熟悉，而且大家对无人机的印象是美国之前用军事方面来去设计其他的飞机。那现在来讲无人机的话，其实大家已经蛮认识的。那我们要怎么样去应用这个技术在各个产业，在各个科技里面，然后让它发光发热，然后变得更专业。
And probably the biggest thing that they'll always ask when you're trying to sell a technology is how can that technology increase their efficiency and save them money? That's always the biggest question. So what I'm going to do today is, because there's different industries listening to this talk, I'm gonna show examples of some of the projects that we've done in the past few years and how we basically overcame these issues with our partners around the world. And maybe some of these examples will be somewhat similar to what you guys are going through, and you can start relating to exactly how we bridge the gap between all these different technology and into the market.
我们我要在卖新科技的时候，最常遇到的问题就是怎么样让这些科技变得非常有效率。那因为今天大家是来自各个不同产业，那我要把我之前过去可能经过的挑战、经过的经历，把过去所经过的经历来向大家分享，然后这样提出的例子可以让大家更了解现在无人机的科技。
All right, so this first example right here is one of our later one of the newest one that we've just accomplished, and we just did this in 2020. So in the middle of the COVID pandemic, and it was really difficult. But this project is for a Latin American company looking to use drones to find cocaine farms. So it's not really a company, it's more of a government entity. And their problem was, one, the budget. Two, they didn't really have pilots to fly drones. Three, they needed a specific drone that can fly in high altitude environment using autonomous drones that can avoid detection using special sensors capable of detecting not just certain objects, but patterns, right? So they approached Action Drone and basically said, we need drones that can do these things. And so for us, we obviously.
Sorry,
okay, go ahead.
这是我们今年最新研发出来，2020年最新，不是今年，2020年最新研发出来，是在 COVID 是在武汉肺炎这个时候研发出来的，是相当的困难。然后是在美国，是在拉丁美洲这个公司跟骨科检有点相关的政府他们研发出来的。那第一个他们遇到的问题是。经费不够，然后再来没有人能够飞行这个飞机，再来要如何去控制这个飞机它飞到怎么样的高度，然后之后呢还不可以被探测器探测到。
All right, so this project we recently completed, but it's an ongoing project to create a drone program for this Latin American country. Now, I'm not going to mention which country it is because they won't allow me to do that because it's still an ongoing project.
这是我们最新完成的一个无人机的机器。那现在这个方案呢正在进行中。那是在拉丁美洲这个地方，但是我不会讲是哪一个国家，因为比较不方便，因为这是政府他们单位的。
So this project had 3 different companies come together to make this happen. The first company we worked with was a small R&D company from China that basically helped us develop the fuselage of the aircraft that was needed. It needed to have the capability to carry enough battery power and lift to carry the sensor for at least a 1 hour of flight time.
有3个公司跟我们一起合作，其中一个是中国的小公司，然后他们是一起帮他们去创造机翼的。那这个机翼的重要性就是在多少的能够装载多少的电池，而且要用怎么样的探测器装在这个机翼上。
The second company was another R&D company that specialized in software and data processing. This company was located here in San Diego, and they basically had a software that can detect certain plants and or pattern recognition to recognize a farm.
第2个公司呢是在圣地亚哥这个公司，那它主要是以软体为主的。那它目前创造的软体是能够去探测到能够有一些无人机是能够去探测到的，然后它也可以去探测到一些不同的图案的变化。
And then the third company is the sensor company. They're located in Shenzhen, and they were the ones that developed the sensors that we actually needed. And it was even on that, it was a partnership between 2 new other companies that were able to integrate 2 types of sensor. One is from Japan, and the other one is from Shenzhen. And we had them work together to actually develop this new sensor for this drone.
另外第3个公司是做感应的公司，是在深圳。那它底下有些子公司跟它一起合作，一个是日本，一个是在深圳。那他们主要就是以制造这个感应器为主的公司。
And so the goal of this drone was to actually detect cocaine farms. And so it was very complex. And basically the partners that we had, the people that we worked with, the small companies that we worked with, would have never had a chance to implement their technology and actually have a sample of exactly what we're doing here if they did not agree to having a partnership with different companies like us, and different companies from Shenzhen, different companies from Japan. And with that in mind, they were able to showcase their product to show everyone that it worked. And so this was a very good win sample to all these companies that wanted to promote their technology.
这是一个很好的模型，那它主要的目标就是去探测古柯碱的这个农田。那透过这样子的双方的去这样子合作，它可以有机会去运用这样子的科技。
All right, and so this project right here, it's the United States Department of Defense. So this was the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. So if you look at what's happening currently here in the United States, the Department of Defense actually does not allow certain countries to sell their drone products here in the United States. So, but if you look at some of the drones here, some of the drones, for example, the one on the right, the top right, you see, that is actually made in Shenzhen, the fuselage, right? But there are several ways around the issue of not being able to sell to the Department of Defense. So what we've done is we've basically asked the Department of Defense here in the United States We asked them how we can make it legally sold in the United States, and they told us, make it in the United States, and then you can sell it to us. So what we did was we looked at certain products that were made in not just in China, but also in different parts of the world, Singapore. And basically what we did was we Americanized it, right? So we did a technology transfer where we partnered with these companies, some big, some small, and they helped agree, or they actually agreed that we start manufacturing some of their technology that they've developed in the United States. And they helped us to actually find a way to manufacture it here. And it's a win-win situation because they would have never been able to sell their product or their product to industries here in the United States that aren't allowed to purchase certain technology that is from other countries, from different countries, right? So we were able, okay, go ahead.
OK， 这个计划呢，他们是在美国的这些空军，那美国这些空军单位呢，他们不让他们在美国这个地方去做贩卖。那最右边的这个无人机呢，就是在深圳制造的。那我们要如何能够在美国卖的话，就是美国人说希望要在美国里面制造，所以他们不止去跟中国合作之外，也有去找新加坡跟其他的国家去做合作，然后再透过美国这边去同意。因为美国对于在美国卖这些东西的话，非常的有顾忌，所以他们去透过其他的国家来合作，然后建立不同的合作关系，才能够将无人机去贩卖出去。
Yeah, so this isn't just into one product, right? Now we're starting to do this with different products that are very difficult to export into the United States. So for example, there are some sensors that you can't buy from certain countries. So we've actually taken that type of sample of what we did in the previous, which is, making this airplane here in the United States. So some sensors, some cameras are now made here in the US, but they were first developed in different parts of the world, in different countries. And that tech transfer really helped bridge the gap to different markets like the US market.
它这样一项产品呢，一开始在其他的国家是买不到的，然后它这样子的这个它把这个模型呢，后来带到美国之后，然后他们能够去传送到其他国家，然后去建立这样子的科技，然后渐渐的，就是大家都可以买到这样子的仪器。
All right, so I'm going to move on to the next sample, which is the San Diego County. I live in San Diego, so I'm going to use San Diego County and the city of San Diego as an example of a certain situation.
OK， 我接下来要看下一张的 PPT。那这是一个我的例子，然后我本身就住在圣地亚哥这个地区。
So this is basically a case of having too much technology already, where we have collected different types of technology because of the global consortium, the drone consortium that we've created. Now, the drones could definitely prove that it saves money, it saves time, and increase safety for many city workers. But the biggest problem is there's not enough support to actually make this technology still viable to be used for the city and the state.
这样子的这边的一个例子呢，是有太多的科技产业了。那我们将各个国家的我们将全球的科技产业集合在一起。那它的好处是能够节省时间、节省钱，然后也可以节省这些通勤途。但是它的缺点就是它没有办法去支持其他的，它没有办法去共同去支持其他的城市。
So this project here had 3 different companies work together. One is a Canadian company. They developed the sensor. The other is also another Canadian company. They developed the navigation system. And then the other is another Chinese company that developed the frame for the drones that lifted the sensor. And so what we ended up doing together as a group that actually sold this product, we created a training manual so that all the different companies that work together to actually produce this technology had a manual and a training process so that the buyers or the customers, which is the government, were able to use them and be trained by us so that they can successfully deploy the technology.
我们有两家公司，一家是加拿大，它是有两家加拿大的公司，一家是制造感应器，一家是制造导航器的，然后另外一个中国的公司，他们是制造外框，就是那个外框的话跟感应器结合，如何把感应器装在外框上面。那我们把这些制造的东西集合在一起，我们其实创造了一个训练的手册，就是如果一起加入这个公司的各个国家的人都可以看到这个手册，买了这些仪器的话，就可以看着这个手册来做操作。
So basically, at the end of this, the other thing that you really need to do is, although you're making the technology, you have to find a way to make sure that the end user or your customers or the people that you think is your target market will find a way to make it one really easy to use, or get feedback from your customers of how to make it really easy to use, either by training or by very good manuals.
重点来说，就是当你要制造这些东西给客人的时候，或者是你目标的顾客的话，要让他们能够让他们要制造出能够让他们理解的手册，或是比较好的训练手册，让他们能够轻松的去使用，让他们能够使用的容易上手。
So because we're running out of time, I could summarize the rest of the presentation, and it's just more examples. So for example, we had a project just last month, basically the United States Border Patrol or Border Protection here in San Diego asked us to build a drone that can create a 3D map to protect the environment that is actually endangered. And we used 3 different companies here in the United States. They're all small companies, and we actually joined together, again, doing the same process to push a new product to the United States Border Protection.
那我们时间快要结束了，那我这边给你们看的 PPT 呢，就是给你们再看更多的例子。那这个是上个月美国创造的保护边境的一个无人机，那也是在圣地亚哥创造，主要就是去探测到环境是否危险。那有3个美国的小公司跟我们一起加入，然后一起来推动这样子的一个方案。
And this slide right here, it's another project that we're actually currently in the process of developing. And this is a project between an Israeli company, a Chinese company, and a German company. And what we are doing here is creating a swarm technology drone system for the spraying of agriculture pesticides. But what I'm trying to showcase here is that this company, instead of working in the early stages to actually go out and find partners, they ended up developing the technology first and trying to push it to the market. So similar problem that I did in the beginning.
接下来这张 PPT 呢，主要是中国和德国他们一起合作的这个公司，然后他们创造的是农业的无人机，主要就是对于那个农田方面来撒农药。那跟我之前遇到的困境有点类似，只是他们这次呢不是自己去找合作的关系，他们是先把科技创造出来，然后再推到市场上面。
So when they asked us to actually help them expose their technology to the market or to the government, it was a little too late already. They've spent a lot of money on the technology, right? They should have started a prototype and try to expose it to the market first. instead of the reverse where they've already spent most of their money on a technology that is absolutely not what the industry needed. In the United States, apparently there's a huge regulatory system that doesn't allow you to just spray pesticides anywhere. So it was very difficult for us to help this company, but luckily we found other industries that could actually benefit from the technology that they've actually built.
这个农业的创造出来，撒农药的东西，它来找我们来做推行的时候已经很晚了，因为他们是先创造机器出来，而不是先创造一个模型出来。他们已经花太多钱在创造机器方面，他们应该要他们应该要先推行，然后再来创造仪器的，因为。而且他们创造这个仪器出来，在美国来讲，并不是太受市场欢迎，因为美国并不是说任何一个农田就可以撒农药的。所以，但是还不错的是，我们找到了其他地区，他们对于在农药无人机市场上面有一席之地的地方。
So what I'm trying to say here is when you have an idea, try to start exposing your idea or actually start talking to different partners out there about your ideas or even about your early prototypes so that you're not changing or you're not spending money on things that are actually useless.
所以我要主要在讲的就是说，当你有一个新的点子的时候，先慢慢的让它曝光，或者是先去找一些合作，然后试着创造出原本的模型出来，而不要就花了一大笔钱创造了这个东西，结果不受市场欢迎，或者是不受市场利用。
So to conclude, if you're a robotics or drone startup, one of the wisest things you can do is to expose your product around the world early. Find the right partners who can help you navigate in certain regions and especially in certain markets that you want to be in. In the drone industry, the market is so new that it's more beneficial to each company that we actually expand the market by helping educate the industries and understand how drones actually work and how they can increase efficiency and minimize the cost of the current process.
所以我要结尾的就是，现在还有机器人的。现在有人工智慧机器人的无人机，那主要就是当你有这个想法的时候，就不要先投钱下去，主要就是先去找合作关系，然后去探究一下市场上面他们对于新发明的仪器的一些行情，然后再去找这样的合作关系，能够去互相帮忙，然后尽量花在训练及教育上。
So I just want to thank you all for listening. I know that was a very long presentation, but I do hope you find my examples and also our experience somewhat helpful so that in the near future, when you guys want to put something in the market out there, try to minimize the loss and cost of developing a new technology and a new product.
感谢您今天来聆听，我知道这次的演讲非常的冗长，那我希望我的这些例子呢，能够带给你们一些想法。那在未来的话，希望你们能够缩短，希望不需要投到一大笔钱去在发明新的仪器方面，你可以能够减少你的开销及支出。
Could Mr. Darryl, could you take some time with us to do this panel discussion?
Absolutely.
Okay. There is some question I would like to ask you. First, I'm introduce myself. I'm James, the Executive Director of Taiwan Drone Education and Cultivation Associations. It's my first time to attend this kind of big summit as one of the leaders of associations. And I would like to share some projects what our groups used to do last year and plan, which is coming very soon. And I know you are, I saw your websites and we know the Action Drones also have the main service of pilot trainings plus education, right?
Absolutely.
Actually, I can say that action drones definitely can be our model of learning. Could you give us some suggestions about drone pilot training or education?
Sure. So when we do training, I actually went to actual flight school. So I'm a pilot myself. And I basically based our training on how manned aviation or manned pilots train to become real pilots. So we looked at exactly what kind of jobs or what kind of pilots the companies are looking for. So for example, a mapping drone will have a different training than a inspection drone, right? But in the beginning of it, right in the beginning of it, the basics of it, we create a training program to make sure that flying the drone in terms of orientation becomes second nature to them. So majority of our training programs starts with either a 1 week training program or a 2 week training program, depending on their skill level, right? So when governments actually call us to hire us to train, we put their students or their employees on a test to see how well they can fly. And at that point, we give them either a 1 week program or a 2 week program. And it starts from the basic flights all the way to actually teaching them how to use complicated, very big drones. And we mostly emphasize safety and also emergency procedures.
Right. Thank you for your suggestions. Now I know what we can do. And also I want to ask you some question is, I saw your profile on the IEEE website, and there is a sentence that comes from you which actually grabbed my intentions. And the sentence is, you say the drone industry isn't about drones, it's about the people using the drones. And the sentence very touched me. And could you share some experience that the connections between drone industry and drone pilot?
Yeah, so I've been saying that for years, and the only reason why I started saying that is because the drone technology is so advanced, right? There's so many people building very high and very high technology drones. But the problem is nobody knows how to use it. Nobody knows how to actually implement these high technology, high tech systems into the industry. So the drone industry will never start unless we start focusing on the people, on actually teaching the people how to use this technology. That's why 80% of Action Drone's model, of business model, 80% of our revenue comes from training. And our training is developed based on our service department getting experience doing work out there in the field. And then we pass that on to the next group, a next generation, or the next company that wants to do exactly the type of drone piloting that we're doing. And so we're really, Action Drone has not only, we still focus on the technology, but we're mainly focused on developing the people instead of developing more technology.
Right. Okay. Thank you for your sharing. And our group actually is a brand new group. The core, what we focus on is how to be a professional drone pilot for application purpose. So with that visions, we are planning to activate the drone pilot training project by collaborating with our group's partner after, the slowdown of COVID-19. And we also devote to establishing drone pilot training systems, not just for getting the license, but being capable of performing the drone application missions.
Absolutely.
So I'm not quite so sure that directions is the right to us. Do you think that is, just doing make anything to be the applications is the right thing?
I absolutely think you're doing the right thing. So what I think you should do is partner with the different industries out there that are using drones. Then you can start working with them to make your training program specific to what they're looking for, right? So
Right.
to give you an example, when we started doing the wind turbine inspection, when we started training people, they were only doing the previous companies, they were only doing 6 to 7 wind turbine inspection a day. But because of our training, specific training that we've created based on our experience, we've helped them create a process to actually start doing wind turbine of more than 30 wind turbines a day. And so if you are going to focus on the people, find a way to make the people more efficient, because the technology is already there. It's the people that need the skill set.
Yeah. Right. Thank you. We got it. And next question I want to ask you is, as for drone development, do you think that the drone pilot would be an important role, even though the automatic drones or AI drone is a mainstream in future?
So I'll go back to the wind turbines again. So we actually don't fly our drones. The drones fly themselves. They are highly automated. They detect the wind turbines and then start flying in its own flight path. What the human aspect of it is basically for emergency purposes, and obviously getting the drone ready so that there is no standby time, similar to how airlines operate, right? If the airplane is on the ground longer than it should be, it's not making money. It's the people around the airlines that actually make the airline industry function and be profitable. So you have to find a way to be efficient and make the drone, make the people around the drone be very efficient.
Yeah, so you also think that the drone pilot is more important than the drone, right?
Not, I wouldn't say drone pilot necessarily, because they're more like the drone support systems, right? Because in the near future, you're not piloting these drones. You're just managing their health. You're maybe looking at their telemetry to make sure that they're still doing good. You're making sure that the battery is all fully charged. At some point in this industry, no one will be flying the drone manually.
Okay, we got it, and thank you for your sharing. And Mr. Wang, do you have any question to want to join the discussion panel?
Hi, Darryl and everybody. I'm convener of International Exchange and Cooperation of TDECA, and I want to ask Darryl, as you know, government, how U.S. government support UAV industry? We want to know more about this.
Well, the U.S. government, compared to other countries, the U.S. government has a hard time supporting the U.S. Drone industry unless you're in the military industry, right? Unless you're a weapon. It's very difficult because they only buy excellent, they only buy perfected technology. But that's probably going to change soon because the government just passed a bill that allows drone technology to be used in the new infrastructure deal. So although the government is there helping us trying to find business or developing technology, they sometimes have projects out there, but it's not like other countries where they're fully committed and fully subsidizing, helping other companies or these small companies to actually find ways to expand their technology by supporting them financially. Unfortunately, US government, they don't do that. So for example, my company, we do everything with every project that we have, we use our own money. And so that's why I'm super careful about spending, right? Because I don't have VCs. We're still owned privately. So it's very difficult here in the US when it comes to running an aerospace company.
So the U.S. government is just the system rules in U.S.
Yeah, so they basically don't do anything unless they want to buy your product.
Roger that. Thank you for your sharing. And we know we have a long road to go to be the group like the Action Drones. And actually, I definitely can say that Action Drones can be our model of learning. And it's a very tough task in Taiwan, promoting new things that people don't understand. By all means, yeah.
I highly suggest, I mean, you can always ask me, you can email me whenever you want. I'd love to answer any questions you have in the near future. But one of the things that on the presentation is get out of your own environment of market, right? It's a global market. Do not use your immediate market as your test bed. This is now it's much easier now to actually go out and test your product or your system or your process or your whatever training program that you have to the global market, because it's now easier for you to find partners around the world and develop your product doing partnerships with different companies.
Okay, and also that remind me there is another question I want to ask you. Do you do the training and education, right? And do you do the teenagers educations in your project?
Yes, because we are well known in the US for training, a lot of education groups, school boards, they always ask us to develop what they call STEM program. So we have these high school, middle school programs, not just how to fly drones, but actually how to build drones, and then also how to code for drones. And so all these different types of programs that lead to basically them growing into college students and graduating college, a lot of knowledge that are already coming from their middle school and high school exposed to STEM drone program.
Thanks for your sharing, and we are thanks to have you on this. And is there another questions, Mr. Wang? Okay, and that's the end of the panel discussions. And thanks for Darryl to come to bring us share his experience. And now we will take a short break in 15 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, and have a nice day.
Thank you.